Hello everyone, this is Mr. O'Brien and welcome to a presentation of the 1915 W.D. Griffiths film Birth of a Nation. What I'm going to ask you to do is to please take out the viewer's guide from Dr. Toward's Amazing Magic Lantern Show. And what we're going to do is we're going to read the first paragraph on page 14. So please right now pause the video, get that out, and read along with me. So reading from this paragraph, it provides a very good introduction to the film. D.W. Griffith's classic 1915 film, The Birth of a Nation, is considered a turning point in the development of American cinema. Based on the 1905 novel The Klansman by Thomas Dixon, Jr., the film glorified the Ku Klux Klan as the savior of white civilization from African American corruption and misrule. In other words, the Klan is depicted as redeeming the South, state by state, from the incompetent and easily duped rule in the state legislatures of freed people, i.e. African Americans. Its stereotyped images of vicious and cowardly freed people, performed by white actors in blackface for the most part, distorted Americans' vision of Reconstruction for years afterward. So you can consider this kind of the Hollywood version of the Charles Dunning School of Reconstruction historiography. That old view that the Civil War was brother against brother. It was a gallant fight between brother against brother, and it wasn't about slavery, it was about states' rights. And that the Republicans were just simply out to punish and enslave and oppress the South after the war. And that African Americans, they were given their chance after the Civil War to govern, and they blew it. So the white people had to come in and redeem the South. All right, especially the Klan had to come in and redeem the South and take it out of the hands of the freed people and the corrupt and greedy Republicans who were simply out to punish the South. Now, like I said, this film came out in 1915, and it was at the forefront of movie making, and that's the pickle, because this is an unbelievably painful movie to watch in the 21st century. All right, but that's the pickle. As far as movie-making technique in 1915, it was by far the best Hollywood had to offer. It was the first ever Hollywood epic. Picture it. Silent movie, orchestra sitting in the front of the theater that went along with these 10, 15-minute battle scenes, which we're going to fast forward past at one point. All right? But that's the pickle. It's great movie-making and horribly, horribly racist. So how do you think of it? All right? Now, to be sure, this film was banned in some cities. In other words, theaters refused to show it. In some cities, they only showed it if certain scenes were taken out, such as the infamous South Carolina state legislature scene, which we're going to see. It's fantastic. All right. But again, a good way to think of this movie is the Hollywood recreation of the Charles Dunning School of Reconstruction, that old view that began to change after the Civil Rights Movement during the 60s and 70s and 80s. All right, so without further ado, let's get to some of the excerpts. And from time to time, I will be stopping the video to kind of add my 2 cents. And I broke the very long and painful film into several excerpts. And I added my kind of snarky titles in the beginning here. As you can see, excerpt 1 is named The Old South, Myth of the Happy Slave, Depiction of Slavery as Paternal and Benign. So what you see here are Southern whites touring the plantation, happy, content slaves. The workday is about to end, and they're going to be dancing and singing and happy. The happy slave. Ain't life grand? The South was this pristine, utopian place where everybody was happy. There was no homelessness and no poverty and unemployment. Everybody had their role. It was great. Think back to the Grimke comment about the difference between happiness and mirth. Just because they danced doesn't mean they were actually happy. Your virtuous Southern belle with her camisole. Alright, so excerpt 2, the Civil War being depicted as a gallant fight between brothers in blue and gray, set to a musical score. We're going to fast forward past much of this, I just want you to get a taste of it. This is the epic part I talked about, the epic battle scenes that people saw on screen for the first time. The Little Colonel is one of the brothers. This depicts the Civil War quite literally as brother against brother. One brother fighting for the North, one brother fighting for the South. Now this is the ooh and the ah of the epic battle scene that is now commonplace to us in the 21st century. Alright, they fight, they keep fighting. This is drawn out for 15 minutes. That's the other brother. There he is. And what you're seeing here is what becomes known as the lost cause ideology. Remember I said after the war, the South was kind of like, just kidding, it wasn't about slavery, it was states' rights the whole time. Pay no attention to what we said before the war and during the war. And it became kind of like this lost cause belief, wherein the South was fighting this noble cause, and it was a lost cause because they were up against the North was so tyrannical and had some superior manufacturing that they were fighting a lost cause the whole time. The lost cause of local democracy against the tyranny of heavy-handed government. And that's kind of like the assumption of this scene. Wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. Just to be sure, the brother on the left who just collapsed after he shoved that flagpole into the cannon is a Confederate soldier. He's the Union brother. It's literally brother against brother. Oh, is it still going on? Oh. sad cue music. I'm sorry, cue sad music. The tragedy of brother killing brother. Alright. The Union wins, we get it. Alright, Lee surrenders, cue the sad music. This is Appomattox Courthouse. Alright, so one thing you've also got to realize is this movie tried to cloak itself in historical legitimacy by citing primary sources and factual things, such as this. Appomattox Courthouse, on the afternoon of April 9th, 1865, the surrender of Robert E. Lee and CSA's, remember, Confederate States of America, the surrender to General U.S. Grant of the United States of America. And the citation is there on the bottom right, the historical facsimile. So sad. Such a noble tragedy. Alright, you have Lee on the left, Grant on the right. Notice even the difference in their appearances. Lee is the stubborn, noble general, and Grant is the kind of... And he, to be sure, he did have alcohol problems in real life. But even the difference in the way they're depicted, Grant is smoking a cigar, he's kind of gloating in his victory. Kind of a smirk. And here we go with the state rights ideology, the end of state sovereignty. Excerpt 4, racial equality being shoved down the throats of the South. Alright, oh, I've got to wait till I actually see. Oh, there we go. The tall guy there in the top hat is supposed to be kind of, back then you would say mulatto, today you would say mixed race. But he's supposed to represent kind of this corrupt, harsh, tyrannical, taking bribes, this kind of Reconstruction African-American politician that was allowed to take office after the Civil War through Reconstruction at the with the support of the radical Republicans, namely Thaddeus Stevens, who in this movie is depicted as someone named Stoneman. Again, as someone acting tyrannically, shoving this down the throat of the South. What you're going to see now is the myth that a freed person won't work unless they have a white person, per se, cracking the whip, so to speak. See a number of stereotypes here. Again, the lazy, freed person eating the watermelon. And the Freedmen's Bureau is depicted as giving free supplies, which is kind of code for handouts. The charity of a generous North misused to delude the ignorant being the freed people. So racial equality being depicted as a negative thing, as something that is violating the sensibilities of the white South. Excerpt 6, Radical Reconstruction is corrupt. And keep in mind these numbers don't go in order because I'm not showing every excerpt. So what this is showing is freed people after the war having the right to, freed men having the right to vote. And that in turn, in the view of D.W. Griffith and Thomas Dixon who wrote The Klansman, that in turn disenfranchising or taking away the right of suffrage of white people down south. So their argument is that local elections became corrupt. These radical Republicans and these Southern Republicans, carpetbaggers and scalawags, were corrupt. Slick, very slick. Alright, so the Stoneman character is the gentleman you see there, the tallest gentleman with the black coat on there. He's supposed to be the Thaddeus Stevens character that's again shoving equality down the throats of the South. And talk about a minstrel Sambo stereotype, the men on the left-hand side there. That's fantastic. White guy in blackface. So the depiction is Silas Lynch, who's kind of like the equivalent of a Hiram Revels, was elected in a corrupt election. So this excerpt is the way in which the film depicted radical Reconstruction as ruining faithful servants, because remember, in the eyes of the Southern white former slaveocracy, that was supposed to be the intended role. That was the proper role of African Americans, that as servant. Voter intimidation by the Republicans. The only African Americans that were depicted in a positive light in this whole entire film were those that remained, so to speak, loyal to the white South in their role as loyal servants. So this is a Southern African American that supposedly refused to vote Republican and stayed loyal and was about to be lynched because of it. Alright, so this is the infamous scene. Alright, radical Reconstruction is forcing uncivilized freedmen onto the South and ruining state legislatures, otherwise known as, you had your chance, African Americans, and you blew it. So you will see a slew of stereotypes thrown into a few minutes in this South Carolina state legislature scene. This is really the old view of looking at how it happened. Again, they're cloaking this in historical legitimacy. This is South Carolina, the only state in which African Americans achieved a majority in the state legislature. Remember, this is not a satire. So we have alcoholism, whatever you want to call that, eating some fried chicken, depicted as the victims. Worst of all, forced racial mixing. And now you're going to see a common theme throughout American history. The fear of the black man overwhelming the white woman. All right, here comes the Klan to redeem the South. And the story of the origins of the Klan, as depicted in Birth of a Nation, fantastic. The Ku Klux Klan, the organization that saved the South from the anarchy of black rule. So now you see a little kerfuffle between Silas Lynch, remember the Hiram Revels character, the corrupt black Reconstruction politician, and the Klan. They're kind of their first skirmish. Alright, so here we get a much bigger embellishment of the scary black man who's after the white women trope. Trope being a constant theme. This is classic. Classic stuff. Wait, Missy. They just can't be trusted around white women. Oh, thankfully a white guy had to rescue her. But can he make it in time? Uh-oh. Nowhere to go. Just do it. Just do it. Go ahead. Just go ahead. And she jumps. Finally. Now he means business. Here comes redemption. The South is redeemed by the Klan, also known as Woodrow Wilson says this is true, so it must be after all. He was dean of Princeton University. Here's what I mean by that. When Woodrow Wilson was president, he had a screening of this film, in a special screening in the White House. He loved this film. In fact, at one point he was quoted in one of those dialogue placards about how accurate this film was. So here we get the Klan in to redeem the South. Take it back. Cue heroic music. It dragged on for about 15-20 minutes. Trust me, you're happy I fast-forwarded that, or skipped that excerpt in the middle there. So now we're going to get kind of like a last-minute standoff between African-American Republicans in the South and a white family in the cabin here. The Klan saves the day. Hooray, hooray, wish I was in Dixie, hooray, hooray. And the correct balance has been restored. So now we see a proper election, where the white people are keeping guard, and they're the ones voting, and they're not. Remember, by 1890, if you were black, for more or less, you didn't vote down south, even with the 15th Amendment. So the important thing to remember about this film is that, common people don't read academic texts. So most people didn't read Charles Dunning's view of Reconstruction. So the fact that this was a Hollywood epic that so many people went to see is what kind of showed how this view had ebbed and flowed down into the popular culture. So be sure to take the short quiz that's coming up right now.